So the plan for today is we're going to start by stripping some of these upper covers off, get the valve covers removed, some of this other miscellaneous stuff, all in an effort to get to the timing chains here at the front of the engine. Unfortunately, I've been ill for about a part of a week now, and I'm really behind schedule on this, so probably what I'm going to do is if I stumble across a difficult to do part of the job, I'll roll video for that, but for the most part this is just going to be a hey, this is what we're doing, and then show you it after it's already done, because I don't have time. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. Alright, so I'm going to show you a couple things real quick. First off, so this is the polar that I used, which is not the correct polar. So the correct polar, what it does is it actually indexes on the inside of this harmonic balancer. And what ended up happening, if you look really close, it actually bent the crap out of these bolts. The other thing that you need when you're, for whatever polar you're using, is you need something that indexes into the end of the crank so it won't move around. I ended up just doing a quick insert on the lathe. But the neat, I've never seen a pulley quite like this, other than on some like very vintage like flat belt stuff. So basically, this little ring just drops in to a taper here, and the crank is actually straight. And what it does is it actually, the bolt that holds it on there, all it does is push on that ring, and then it just drives it super tight in there, and just grabs the end of that crankshaft. It's really nice because you don't have to align anything, but man, that's a bugger to get off. Like I said, as you can see evidence on my pulley. All right, secondary thing that that no one really showed on a video. Right here at the dead center forward side of the bell housing is where the throttle or the crank position sensor is. So I ended up so basically the alignment tool for the crank goes in like one unique kind of rounded off hole. It happens to line up with the flats on the camshaft, but anyway, that's where that goes, and I just bolted it in with the bolt for the crank position sensor. So now we should be ready to pull this timing set apart. All right, and just show you this side. So on the camshafts right here, there's a machine flat spot, and this just bolts down right over the top of it. I've seen pretty good videos of tearing this whole thing apart, but as my suspicions were confirmed, at some point right around 2008, because that's when the dates on these tensioners were, basically the upper tensioners went bad, so they very carefully rolled out the tensioner and then rolled in a new one, which is actually not that hard to do, and didn't bother fixing anything else. So here we are all this time later, and I'm having to go through and fix it. But yeah, the tensioners down in here very much are the original plastic ones. Yeah, so they got 1999 date codes on them and everything. So yeah, this is ready to come apart. I'm just going to continue on. All right, so I'm going to show you guys why it's so important to change these tensioners out. So if you look, this is it's got a like a plastic outer housing wrapped around a piece of sheet metal. So this just disintegrates over time, and I'll let you get a good look at this. So this is again more just sheet metal with a plastic over the top. Same thing with the original tensioners. They're just a plastic body like this. So what it gets replaced with is units like this, where it just has a plastic guide, but it's a mostly metal construction. And once they switch to this, and here I'll show you another one. So this is the other one here. Just massive improvement in the longevity of these pieces. But also, because these these tensioners have oil that's in it that keeps pressure on everything, so they just don't hold up. The plastic versions of these just don't hold up. But anyway, that's why we're changing it, because this is obviously just destroyed here. So moving on. Well, as you can see, the Jag has left the garage. You know, the whole process went fairly smooth for something I've never done before. However, you know, it's probably not a very good beginner project. I had some struggly times. What's up, Rogue? What you doing? You gonna come interrupt my filming? Yeah, you're gonna interrupt my filming, aren't you? Anyway, so the biggest problem that I had was actually a secondary issue, not necessarily related to the initial failure, is on the radiator for the air conditioning mounts to the front side of the radiator. And I took the bolts out, set them aside, and when I put them back on, I tightened them down until they were as snug as I wanted them to be. However, what I didn't realize was the bolts were a little bit too long. Who knows if they were the originals or somebody swapped them or whatnot. But when I snugged it down on the passenger side, it actually bottomed out and then cracked the radiator right there. Turns out that radiator is a little bit of unobtainium, and it was about an $800 radiator to replace. The next body style newer, it's like $150, $200 for a radiator, and they're really easy to come by. So I didn't want to spend another $800 on it, and what I did was I cut the ear that had broken, I removed that, took a die grinder, very carefully exposed the crack without removing too much material, then cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and epoxied the crap out of that section. And then I took the ear that I had removed and glued it back on to the spot, just kind of to bridge it and make like a structural bridge across the crack, so even if there was some expansion of the plastic, it'd have something else to restrain it. But anyway, so far so good. My noise is gone, and the radiator's holding coolant. It's done a couple heat cycles now, so we'll just watch it, and hopefully I won't have to actually replace the radiator. But anyway, I hope this covers a few little odds and ends about that project, and hope you found something useful.